Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. You know, it's one thing to be pro-open borders. It's another thing to go all out and defend criminal illegal aliens. But my next guest has a story you're not going to like. Simon Hankinson's back on from, I see him from Heritage Foundation. But in your article here, I got this from, the Daily Signal. You were talking about going through your old hometown in New Jersey, and the story you relay about two illegals. I'm not sure the person listening is going to believe it. He's going to think you're making it up.
Well, maybe they've seen it for themselves. It was kind of surprising to me, but the Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents went to this small town in New Jersey, Princeton, home of the university that people have probably heard of, and they were looking for two particular Guatemalans who lived there, I believe both of them illegally, who were wanted for committing crimes.
So we're not picking up regular old illegals. These are illegals who have already committed an extra criminal act.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, ICE under Mayorkas, they've given up on just trying to go after people here illegally just for that alone. They're going after people who've committed crimes and are a danger to the community, including to other illegal immigrants and legal immigrants. So one of them, I think, had a drunk driving offense, at least one. The other had done an assault offense. So these guys both had records. And they were able to find one of them by just walking around. It's not a huge place. And they spotted the second guy, but when they ran after him, they were blocked by locals who just tried to get in the way. All right,
see, that's the part that makes me throw up my hands. What do you mean, is there like a task force? Is there like a group of guardian angels like Curtis Sliwa? Or is there like a biker gang? Or are these just rando people that showed up and wanted to stop the cops from arresting a criminal?
I think it was basically that. I think it was just, randos or people in the neighborhood probably who either knew these guys or sympathized with them, who just got in the way and stopped them from doing their job.
And I don't think that's the technical ICE terminology, randos. That was just, I didn't have a better word for it.
Bystanders or something, yeah. Civilians.
But how did they all know to do this? How did they all know to work in concert? I have never seen it with my own eyes, citizens stopping a cop from arresting a criminal. And I mean more than just an illegal alien. This guy has committed violent crimes.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there to see it myself. I actually read about it in the town paper. And what was kind of shocking to me was not so much that there were people locally who were willing to do that, because, maybe it was a community that was 100% Guatemalan, and they knew these guys, and they just, wanted to get in the way of ICE and didn't think they'd get caught, which is probably true. But it was that the city, the town mayor and the council, they all rallied around, and the local congresswoman, instead of saying, hey, guys, we appreciate that these are your neighbors, but you can't stop federal law enforcement from doing its job, and these guys should really be removed from the streets because they're a danger, and then they're also deportable for being here illegally. They all said that ICE really shouldn't have been in there in the first place, and they shouldn't have been enforcing the law. And just kind of went on about community safety. So
when you're reading Simon's article, this is the part where you start banging your head on your monitor. The quote that just threw the story off the tracks for me, you quote the mayor of the town, Mark Frieda. He wrote that ICE activities in Princeton have left our community deeply troubled. We believe that such federal actions conducted without prior explanation starkly contradict our core values of respect and dignity for all. Arresting criminals violates their core values. What?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to figure out what those core values could be, because if you're the mayor of a town, your number one responsibility is to ensure the safety of the people living in that town. And if you've got drunk drivers and people who've committed assault wandering around with warrants, that's not making the town safe.
Unbelievable, Simon. So what's going to happen here?
Well, I guess at some point it's possible that the guy who got away will end up in ICE's hands, because most likely he'll do something stupid again. The recidivism rate among criminals in America is something like 80% within 10 years. Unfortunately, people who get into the hands of the law tend to go back. But in the meantime, this guy's out there. He's probably driving around without a license and without insurance, and there's a chance that he's gonna hurt somebody.
So let me get this straight. Arresting legal citizens for drunk driving, cool. The Princeton mayor has no problem with that. However, if you're an immigrant, you're still in trouble. But if you're an illegal immigrant, he'll rush in to protect you. That's bizarre, Simon. Bizarre.
It does seem to be a bit of a free pass and hypocritical to, as you say, to be able to enforce the law against citizens and people who are here legally, but not against people who are here illegally, because one of the downsides is that they might actually have to answer for the immigration issue as well as the crimes.
Yeah, and look, that's a great article for us to read down here in old red state Texas, because we forget that people like this are sharing our country, and that's who's going to be voting, and their representatives are in Congress and the Senate, and this is what we're fighting against, Simon. People have a very different attitude toward illegal immigration than what we expect. Yeah,
and I'm afraid, I've been to Texas several times and all over the border, and I've seen cases of people, locals, being killed by illegal immigrants driving way too fast or drunk or in unlicensed, uninsured vehicles. So I think, has a much greater impact in the border areas and really any place that has a high population of people who are here illegally.
Well, it's a great article. What you got coming next?
I'm still working on it for this week, but every week I crank out a column called The Borderline that comes out in the Daily Signal, and a few other things besides.
Well, this is a great article. Thanks for taking some time to come on the James Show, Simon.
I really appreciate it. Thanks.
All right. That's Simon Hankinson from the Heritage Foundation. But if you want to see this story, Daily Signal, you're going to crack your monitor with your forehead if you read it. That's just fair warning from the James Show. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I mean, there's not even a question there. What am I supposed to ask? Like, are we supposed to be stopping ICE from arresting criminals? Of course we're not. Can't believe this is even happening. 800-288-9227. This is the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. Welcome back to the big show. On the other side of the planet now, there's some conflicts going on that maybe in hindsight we will see these as the opening salvos of what evolves into World War III. We don't know. This could just be some random conflict that happens and goes away in a few months, or this could be like a Franz Ferdinand getting shot in, where was that, Sarajevo or something. But right now, because of politics and because everything within 3 months of a presidential election cycle is political, we're not getting any good reporting on this. So I'm going to bring in some help here. Retired Major General Bob Dees. He's an expert on some of these overseas issues. And the first one I want to ask you about is the latest on what's going on around Israel, because, it started off that they are having a problem with Hamas, and then Hezbollah's getting in on the fun. They got rockets coming at them from Syria and Lebanon and Egypt and the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, and now Iran's getting in on it. They launched like 200 projectiles a few months ago trying to take them out. It seems like everyone's at Israel's throat, and we're not getting a whole lot of updates. Where are we at on that, Bob?
Yeah, well, good to be with you, first of all. We have a cauldron in the Middle East. I would say it's the price of appeasement. Goes way back, Obama years, Biden of recent, Iran nuclear deal, giving Iran funding for terrorism that's around the world and certainly in the Middle East, the administration's tepid support of Israel. So all of those are contributing factors. The situation now, the ongoing operation in Gaza to recover hostages and to defeat Hamas is still underway. There's stalled peace talks. The Hezbollah on the north is active conflict, as you say, rockets. In Syria, there's rockets being launched towards U.S. forces. Iran continues to threaten our forces in the region. And then, as you've probably read or reported, the U.S. is mobilizing force. Lots of naval assets in transit to the Middle East. U.S. force protection is key, Air Force assets. So nuclear submarines headed there. So there's a lot of stuff going on. It's a perfect storm, regrettably. And we hope that the slate-breaking deterrence on the part of the U.S. will stand down any craziness on the part of Iran or their surrogates.
Right. Well, the part that I'm really concerned about is the same thing I'm worried about with like Ukraine and Russia. At some point, is this turning from a defensive military action to an offensive military action? Because, if we're going to be doing strikes in other countries that aren't technically in the conflict with Israel, that's not defense anymore. That's offense. Same thing going on in Ukraine when they start, invading Russian territory. Well, that's not a defensive posture anymore. That's turned offensive. And I think that's where my concern grows.
Yeah, well, I served in Israel. I was a commander of the U.S. Israeli Combined Task Force for Missile Defense. The challenge in Israel is that they're a critical linchpin in the whole Middle East, and Israel's strategic warning time is measured in seconds and minutes, not days or longer, and same with their strategic distance. So the United States' responsiveness to help Israel is imperative. And then secondly, when you talk about offensive versus defensive, that is such a compact region. It's really hard to segregate out into offense and defense. It's sort of hard to tell who has the ball, so to speak. And when Israel is undergoing an existential crisis, the United States and others have to be very responsive and take action. So I haven't seen anything that's overly aggressive by the U.S. and that in some cases is an issue in that region because we need to deter Iran, and if we're appeasing at every turn, that only invites adventurism, and we're seeing a lot of that.
How do you think this is going to end, Bob Dees?
I wish I could tell you. I'd be a billionaire. No, I'm kidding. It's really hard to know. It's a volatile situation, probably as volatile as I've seen in my lifetime. I used to be in charge of war plans for the Department of Defense when I was working in one of my jobs in the Pentagon. We've had plans on the shelf for contingencies such as this for decades. But it's a different thing between planning and now when we're mobilizing forces to actually defend Israel and protect our own forces, and if necessary, attack a belligerent Iran if that's necessary to preserve the integrity of Israel. So it's a messy scenario right now. Can't tell you how it's going to turn out.
That's terrible. Well, best of luck over there.
I had better news.
They've been at conflict for a few thousand years. I'm not sure if anyone has the plan on how to end that yet. But you see how some of these end, like the Yom Kippur War ended, and there was a long peace between Israel and Egypt. Right. Relatively speaking, because they gave back the Suez. What's that part? The peninsula, Sinai Peninsula, and some other stuff that they had gained. Yep. So we've seen peace, but something has to be given up, and there's not a whole lot for Israel to give up anymore. Yeah,
well, you're right about that. I think the Trump administration, Abraham Accords, were on a good path. That was a tremendous breakthrough to have these moderate Arab nations supporting an overall architecture for stability in the region. That was blown out of the water immediately by the Biden administration, and it's been, free fall ever since that time. So, I guess all I can say is I hate to shift gears too much on you, but I'm here at the National Center for Healthy Veterans, and we've got a couple of Texas boys that have rolled in here, and we're taking care of veterans from Texas, and I just wanted to highlight that because there is some good news when you look at what's going on with our veterans and helping them become healthy and get back and do good things for America.
Well, if they want to help out your organization or get help from your organization, how do they find you online?
Sure. They just go to healthyveterans.org, healthyveterans.org. All
right. This is retired Major General Bob Dees on The James Show. Thank you very much, sir.
Hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Take care.
I don't think we're going to get that Israel problem solved like anytime soon, but it could be better than it is now, couldn't it? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. This is The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.